Chapter 171 Return. Han Li half-squatted next to Junior Marshal Sister Chen in passing and lowered his head to look carefully at the soft and captivating appearance of this lustful woman. That curvaceous, plump body had naughtily exposed the abdomen, even slightly exposing a few mysterious areas, causing Han Li to become dry at the mouth and grow somewhat dizzy. He clearly understood that so long as he wished, the extraordinary beauty before him would immediately allow him to experience ecstasy that would seep into his very bones and allow him to become a true man. But after he blankly looked for a long while, Han Li reluctantly shifted his eyes away, returning his gaze towards the woman's face. He wrinkled his brow and suddenly extended his forefinger toward her almond lips, softly wiping them. After he felt that moist smoothness, he quickly retracted his hand and softly sniffed it. It truly is the joyful meeting pill. It seems he didn't lie. Han Li said to himself. A short moment after, it seemed he completely regained calmness. Great beauty, it seems your luck is quite good. Had you consumed some other aphrodisiac, I fear I would have truly ended your life early. However, since it is the joyful meeting pill, I don't necessarily have to. It can be assumed that you have already sunk into a hallucination and fundamentally cannot remember my appearance. Han Li softly said as he lifted the woman's chin with his hand and looked into her beautiful, bewitching eyes. In truth, the safest method would be to have you to disappear from this world. After all, even if you are hallucinating, you still might have a somewhat indistinct impression. Although this probability is very low, you should rejoice. Even though I am not a good person, I am not so vicious and fond of killing. I am also soft-hearted towards women. If you were a man, I would have cut you down without hesitation. Han Li continued to talk to himself, helplessly and bitterly smiling. Once this was said, Han Li became silent for a moment. After rigidly staring at the woman's dainty appearance for a good while, he lowered his head and suddenly kissed the woman's beautifully soft and alluring almond lips. Feeling him somewhat clumsily sucking on her lips, the woman passionately responded. After a long moment of ecstasy, Han Li reluctantly parted with the woman's alluring lips. The affair between males and females is truly wonderful. Although I cannot truly experience ecstasy, this intimate mouthful could be considered a reward for the kindness of saving your life. Han Li muttered, appearing absolutely reluctant to suffer a loss. As for this woman's Foundation establishment pill, because he had seized it from the hands of Senior Marshal Brother Lu, Han Li would not return it. Sigh. Your current appearance can truly tempt men. Had I not heard, from Old Man Ma that men and women who lose their virginity have a reduced chance at reaching Foundation establishment, how could I possibly reject such a fine occasion and be forced to throw away my heart's desires? Han Li's complexion began to return to tranquility. However, he lightly shook his head, exposing a deeply regretful appearance. After all, between the pleasures of the night and the undertaking of cultivation, which was more important? Han Li immediately reined in his lust and cleared his mind. As for why that Senior Marshal Brother Lu didn't mind drugging and raping this woman, Han Li didn't need to think deeply to arrive at a conclusion. Seeing such an outstanding pretty boy, he had probably lost his virginity long ago, so he had no qualms about doing so. As a result, lacking the confidence to attempt reaching Foundation establishment and delaying in taking the Foundation establishment pill, he convenienced Han Li. Since Han Li's decision was already set, he did not intend to waste any time. First, he used fireballs to smash a large hole not far away and threw Senior Marshal Brother Lu's corpse inside. Then he burned the corpse to ashes and filled the hole until it was flat with dirt, thoroughly exterminating traces of the corpse. At the location of the battle, he felt that there were a few extremely distinct landmarks and used the long saber in his storage pouch to thoroughly slash and ruin the area, removing the slightest visible trail. Then, after he draped his own clothes on Junior Marshal Sister Chen, he carried her, hurriedly flying away from that place. After he flew west for more than 100 li, he found a rather large concealed cliff and descended. After he placed the woman down beneath the large rock, Han Li thought to immediately fly away, but he turned his head to glance at this woman's blushing appearance and couldn't help but sigh. Then he turned around and moved closer to Junior Marshal Sister Chen. He fished out a white porcelain bottle from his bosom and poured some white medicine powder into his palm. Then he used a finger from his other hand to scoop some of it into the woman's almond lips. He helplessly said to himself, although this joyful meeting pill's lustful poison cannot take a person's life, it will not be dissolved for a long period of time, greatly injuring a person's strength. I suppose doing this good deed won't take much effort. This pure spirit powder will be enough to dissolve the poison. As Han Li said this, he saw the woman unconsciously lick the medicine. With the lovely appearance of her breathing on his finger, Han Li saw her lose her vigor. Han Li didn't dare to stay here much longer. He hastily put away the medicine bottle and hurriedly sailed his magic tool far away from there. He knew that it wouldn't be long before the woman would become clear-headed. If he did not depart, he could encounter great trouble. Han Li flew in the middle of the night on the shortest route toward Yellow Maple Valley before resting for a short moment. After the sky brightened, he entered the valley with an air of confidence and returned to the 100 Medicine Garden. After he entered the garden, he immediately shut himself away. For 3 days and 3 nights, he cleared away the majority of the impurities from his dantian. After there weren't enough remaining impurities to hinder him, he slowly recovered his lost true essence. Despite this, the aftermath of the great battle still left Han Li's strength greatly depleted. He reckoned that after a couple of months of recuperation, he would return to his peak state. This caused Han Li to feel that this entire event had been very much worth it. At this time, Han Li was sitting at his desk, admiring the greatest spoils of the battle, the 2 blue foundation and establishment pills the size of a broad bean. After he carefully scrutinized them for 2 hours, he returned the foundation establishment pills to a copper bottle, an auxiliary magic tool, so that their spiritual chi would not dissipate. As for the azure bottle and the wooden box, he naturally destroyed them to prevent anyone from discovering what he wished to remain concealed. With this said, it was already several days after that battle. His losses had truly been not small. Not only was his flying sword treasure talisman destroyed, that high-quality magic tool, the fine steel ring, was also sacrificed. With regards to this, Han Li felt somewhat regretful. However, his spoils were also great. Apart from the Azure Flood Dragon banner, Han Li found 2 other notable magic tools from Senior Marshal Brother Lu's storage pouch, the azure rope he used to launch a sneak attack on him, as well as a silver white hook. They seemed to both be high-quality magic tools. This was sufficient enough to make up for his loss of magic tools. Not to mention the several tens of low to mid-grade talismans and over 20 low-grade spirit stones. It was unfortunate that there were no elementary high-grade talismans. There was only the Wind Wall Technique talisman that Han Li had turned to scrap during the battle. Han Li took advantage of this opportunity to arrange all of his loot once through. Apart from the items he would personally use and the very precious items, he destroyed the rest to avoid future troubles. After that, he started to impatiently think about the matter of the Foundation establishment pills. Han Li was completely ignorant of how to consume the Foundation establishment pill. Was it as simple as swallowing the Foundation establishment by itself, or was he required to prepare other medicines in advance and perform other actions? Should he even draw support from some external power? Conventions say that such a rare medicine pill should truly have some specific qualities. Because Han Li hadn't acquired the Foundation establishment pill beforehand, there was nothing he previously had to pay attention to. He planned to wait until after the trial by blood and fire to ask around. After all, failure in the trial by fire would render everything else worthless. He didn't expect to possess the Foundation establishment pill now and, moreover, have 2 of them at that. This was a pressing matter. Half a day later, Han Li arrived at the Cultivation Guidance Pavilion. He returned to his residence, blankly resting his upper body on the table. After being lost in thought for quite a few hours, he suddenly smashed his fist against the corner of the table, causing his fist to turn completely red. He ignored the pain as if it wasn't there. Not long before, on the pretext of wanting to learn new magic techniques, he made a few indirect inquiries toward Wu Feng for the majority of the day. Eventually, he uncovered the method of taking the Foundation Establishment pill. However, this did not result in good news for him in the slightest. It turned out that to take the Foundation Establishment pill and pass the barrier to Foundation Establishment, it did not require consuming any medicine beforehand or external aid. Unexpectedly, it merely required direct consumption. It was reasonable to say that this news couldn't be better for Han Li. However, Wu Feng's next word struck Han Li in the head. There would be a new problem that arose after taking the medicine, causing Han Li to feel greatly perplexed. Once again, Han Li found himself facing a dilemma.